Welcome to Innate Express Podcast. I'm Haig John, chiropractor in Melbourne, Florida. Our mission is to ground you in service and inspire you to serve at your very best. I am honored to share these live group recordings with you. Let's get started. All right, page 97 of volume 36, Palmer's Law of Life. The law of continuity is male and female. Conception, development of the delivery of babies, form and figure, division of sex organs is amply portrayed in ideographs of Egyptians. Bas relief carvings on the Barbadura and Angkor Wat, going back at least many centuries. Carvings, drawings, and crude paintings on walls of prehistoric caves go back beyond those. The general blueprint patterns are the same then as of today. Slight adaptive changes have occurred, but these are minor, not major. What is the history of 5,000 years of medicine? Insistent, persistent, incredible, lagging changes in theories, ideas, methods, drugs like an endless, gigantic, monumental, colossal series of incompetent parodies, no 2 years, months, or days alike. Fad after fad, to list these complex streams of conjecture, hopes, with failures, is beyond any man. They will seek and search. Why? Because the wide, long, and devious educational road they have traveled and are dancing on today is the difference between the object they work upon and with, which does not represent a law, and the devious educational bypasses they travel, which possess, this is hard to read, I have to say, no law or even a distant approach. As of today, their present day road is getting rather farther away from any law than they have ever been. In spite of this basic man continuity, medical men have been trying for centuries to remake man into the legendary ways with soulless external machinations. Male and female come and go, and he and she have for centuries in countless millions. The law of continuity still prevails in open defiance of the scientific professional male or female. And one simple example which taught us a lesson. Years ago, an electric streetcar stopped at the top of Brady Hill in front of the PSC and refused to start. Motorman began to hunt for cause. He got his box of tools, took up the floor, and looked down into the works. Failing to find the cause in the bowels of the car, the motorman asked to use our phone. He called the barn and asked for John. He asked, "Who is John?" He is the expert. He is an electrical engineer, college degree, has a college degree, and has a diploma. John came. John was wise. Rather than do what the motorman did, as he did it, rather than waste more time, same way, John crawled under the car and looked up into the bowels of the car, and he found nothing wrong. Observing all this was a Western Union messenger boy. He stood on the sidewalk, taking an overall perspective view. He finally said, "John, what's wrong with the car?" "I don't know," said John. Finally, the simple-minded boy said, You want to know what's wrong? Why your car won't run? Want me to tell you? Your trolley is off." This boy, without 2 years of pre-college education, knew the electrical power and had to come from above down, inside out, flow down in normal quality through electrical nerves to motor muscles to run the car, carrying a full load of human cargo. John put the trolley on, the car ran down the hill, and left the messenger boy walk back to the Western Union office without a word of thanks. John did not find the cause, the boy did. Education took a licking. Such has always been the price when men give its benefactors. It's a price men pay for establishing the better workable failure methods. Living is a continuous law possessing internal processes from moment of birth to moment of death. Every second, every hour, day, or year, we are in constant and consistent law guiding motion. Not one part individually, but all parts concordantly. Well, that all relates right back to what we said before, and really it's not about logic all the time. It's about wisdom and looking at things from the outside in sometimes, looking from above down, inside out, and not going always with what the educated man, where we've put our stock in educated, and call the educated, hey, how do we do this? How do we do that? Instead of trusting our innate. What'd you get out of that?
With that, I got chiropractic school. Mm-hmm. So everyone is so focused on their grades and all this other stuff, but in reality, just like that story, it doesn't matter how many years of school you have, how many diplomas, how many letters you have behind your name. It's all about sometimes that doesn't even really matter. I had something and then it just kind of went away, but obviously school is important. I forget who said it, but it's Austin Davis's dad who said that school is just a ticket to ride. And every time I heard that, I've carried that along with me, and it's made so much more sense. But like you said, it's like logic. It's many times, even for when someone has back pain, we immediately go to the low back. A lot of us do because that's what we're taught. But if you look at it from a whole perspective, where is this really coming from? What's the actual cause? And it's just a trolley off track. Mm-hmm. That's why it wasn't moving. It wasn't anything from above down or wherever. It was just the appearance of what was actually going on instead of, well, it's not working, so I got to look here, then here, then here. When overall, if you just took the whole environment in, you can probably find the cause of it. Mm-hmm. That's what I got from it.
Well, if you
kind of all over the place, but
no, it was on point. Yesterday, I had 3 or 4 people. They had, my back hurts, and I said, look, let's do a test. We adjusted their atlas, and the whole low back was like jelly. And I said, I understand your low back hurts. It's not the cause of your problem. It's way up here. That's the trolley off the track, right? You might feel it in your low back. If I jumped on your low back, adjusted you, do all these things, we got some crackles out of there, it might not benefit you. Now, I don't use the word add vice for a very important reason, because it's adding to people's vices. If I just said, oh yeah, okay, and let's just get some crunches in your back, and I already know that it's not your low back's fault, I'm adding to your vice of saying, poor me, it's my little low back. Right? Hop on my low back, bounce on it, pound on it, it hurts. I'm adding to their vices, and I'm not doing anything for their good, right? And, that's so much in our entire world out there, really, is adding to vices. Oh, you're sad, and you're already on an antidepressant. Here's 2 more antidepressants, and, you better take some Adderall with that, too. Right. Or whatever it is. I didn't mean to advertise a drug. Sure. But, everything. Oh, we don't have anything for you, for your heart. You better take an aspirin a day. Because we have nothing else to give you, but I'm going to add to you, oh, I'm so sick, I better take an aspirin a day. Right. Now we know about aspirins, and still people are told to take an aspirin. If a medical doctor, and I always say this, if they've read any research in the past 25 years, it would say don't take an aspirin a day, right? Yep. But they still do it and tell people because I need to add to their vices still. Right. And, we do it with love, and sometimes people don't always want to hear it. That's why I don't trip them coming out of the door. Look, I'm going to tell you the truth. It might not always be what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you the truth, right? With our spouses and with people very close, sometimes we ease the truth in with a little bit of butter and jelly, but we make it sweeter. Sometimes here we have to be direct because we don't have all day to explain something to people or get them an entire lifetime of our own education for them to be caught up in the moment. So it's drip education, a little bit at a time. We feed them a spoonful at a time, because they haven't lived the life you had. Going through chiropractic school, I think, is important because it's the journey. You know, Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey. It's very popular now for people to talk about. But the hero's journey, I think that's part of our journey of churning up all the old stuff and beliefs that we had prior to become renewed, or at least to see that what I knew before isn't the law, right? If there's any deviation to a law, then it doesn't matter. If it happens to 90% of the people, but not the other 10%, then it's not a law at all, right? Then it's just a probability or possibility. So, you know, if they did like surgeries with people, pretend surgeries, and people healed, there was a whole like 60 Minutes thing about that. I have the video, and that's when Pasquale said to us, he goes, if there is an exception to the law, there is no law. So, you know, very often we think things are finite, but they're not. I had a vision really of, you know, you think you're at the ceiling. This is all there is to know. There was somebody who said everything that's meant to be invented was invented like in the 1800s. I don't know who it was. But realize we're at the ceiling. And then you know what chiropractic school did for me is that I realized I'm just at the floor. I'm at the beginning. And there's so much in my awareness that I might not even be aware of yet. I might never be aware of, but I'm open to the possibilities too. Because when we start seeing things of just lifting the veil, possibilities are truly endless. The process isn't the same for everyone, but it's right for everyone as they go through it. I can't judge your education, my education, someone else's, because they're there for that reason. You made the decisions. I always say there's no accidents. We all, you know, we've heard that. There's no accidents out there. It's all on purpose. So, you know, guiding to a chiropractic school, I was going to go to Cleveland in LA, and I was driving to across country, and I was going to stop and see the chiropractic schools across the country and just take a few weeks to do it. And my car actually broke down. It was a fairly new Cadillac actually at the time, and broke down in Marietta, Georgia. I was going to see Life, and I ended up staying like 3 or 4 days in Georgia. And I fell in love with it. I was like, this place is awesome. There were hiking trails all through the back, and they had a nice, beautiful campus. I didn't really know much about the philosophy, but everyone seemed stoked to be there. You know what I mean? I ended up, you know, doing a ski season in Vail and teaching cross country and driving cross country with my buddy. After that, and we stopped in all the chiropractic schools. They put us up for a day, and we were driving like the Beverly Hillbillies. 2 dogs in the front seat of a bench truck. You know, single cab truck. And so we smelled bad. And I remember at Kansas City, at Cleveland and Kansas City, we must have stunk like I don't know what. And got out of the car, and they put us in a nice place in downtown Kansas City, and I mean, a valet is the whole 9 yards. And I was like, sir, I'll park this car. We've got 2 dogs in the front that really would like to get out for a walk. I'll park the car. You know, we had an adventure, and I ended up going to Cleveland in LA when Life lost their accreditation for 1 trimester, and I realized all that was just bunk. And I came gleefully back to Life University and finished up there. But it's all a process, and it's meant to happen. Everything we've gone through, our ups and downs, are on purpose, not by our own making. And if we think about it logically, how in the world did I get here sometimes? You know, logically, some of it doesn't make sense. Starting off in practice, which you're about to do soon, what I suggest is not... I've had people say, well, this is going to cost me 10 adjustments or 25 adjustments or whatever for my rent per month or what have you, is not thinking those ways. You've heard that before?
Because then people are just a dollar sign to you.
Because people are a dollar sign, but you also skip the spiritual component. Right. Because there are times, I kid you not, I'd look at my bank account, like, how in the world did that money get here? I know I have not made that much a deposit. I feel it. I know it might sound wacko, but there was more money in there than I think I put in there. right? If it was just that, that's all I would see in a logical sense, and my mind would be in those numbers, crossing them off. Yes, thinking of people like cattle and money, yes, don't do that. But really allowing the spiritual side to be part of it and not thinking in the logical sense, it's growing. There's money there. How did it all get there? I don't care. Thank you, God. It's there, and I'm growing. At every moment, there'll be times, how am I going to do this? I need to recover a table. It ripped, or the legs fell off because someone gave me this, and whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, 5 people will come in and want to pay you for 5 years in advance or something like that, and you'll be covered. Outside of that logical way of thinking, that's the educated, and just allowing the abundance to come to us in every way. What BJ was just sort of talking about, in very difficult ways to say it, of being caught up in just the here and now, what I see in my tunnel vision. If something's not running, I better look at the engine. Forgetting to look at the electrical cables on the top of the car itself, or I'm off the track, the simple stuff, And then when someone gives you a little burst of wisdom, they might be walking into your office and they say, hey, how about this? Or why don't you do that? And they don't even know where it came from. It was a message from God straight to you. I remember Alan Katz. He's a chiropractor in Virginia Highlands in Atlanta. I think he's in Virginia Highlands. He said there was a fire in his office, not in his office, but in the building around him. He didn't know there was a fire, but one person came in and said, "Hey, you better leave. There's a fire in here." And he was like, he kept serving his people. Then someone else came in and said, "Hey, don't you hear the alarm? You got to get out." And then he started thinking to himself, how many times does God have to talk to me before I listen? And then the smoke started coming into the room, and then everybody left. But I remembered that, so distinctly, of how many times does God have to talk to me to listen before I listen? I'm working every day to listen more clearly and act as quickly as I can, right? That's the difficult part for me, because I have a lot of educated, and we have all the outside world that says maybe this isn't logical. When I first signed my contract for my first practice, I had everything ready to go for the first day. As soon as I got my results from Florida Board, that I would sign my contract and be in there. I had nothing planned. I didn't know how I was going to get people in the door. I just did it. I didn't do demographics of the foot traffic or the driving traffic. This is where I'm supposed to be. This was the right spot. I'm doing it outside of logic. And I asked one of my friends, Tracy Norman, and I remember a few other people. I said, should I do this? Because I started getting a little nervous. Should I do a demographic? Should I do some of this stuff? Because we just had that class, 14th quarter, right? And it was Tracy who actually said, don't even think about it. She got me right back on track. She goes, just get on track. You feel it in your spirit, keep moving. And I respect that. She also gave me one of the best adjustments in my life. She went up to Life West when I was in Cleveland, LA, and I fractured my olecranon at Big Bear at Christmas Eve. And her and a friend came down we went to a fish show, and I'd been adjusted a dozen times trying to get adjusted. She adjusted me, and finally my elbow, I had a spontaneous healing of my elbow. After all the adjustments, not finding a chiropractor to actually really adjust me, and I got adjusted by a lot of educated chiropractors. But she adjusted me, so she's given me a little wisdom. I've given her props on that in the past. But and she deserves it. The process isn't always easy, but the road less traveled is the greatest adventure. I really feel that. So you're on a big adventure. Today's your final day in here as the intern, and so I'm really excited for you. You got anything else?
No.
So we're going to continue the Green Book readings too. I'm going to start posting them really soon. If we want to do them, one day you can do one, and where you are, we'll post it. We can talk about it, and we can share them that way and even grow. Okay, every day in practice. I mean, not just your practice days. Every day, read a Green Book passage, even if it's a paragraph. Digest it. I feel it is the most important thing in building a practice to start. In the old days, a lot of the practice management people, I've never been coached, okay? Never had practice management, but I know a lot of the guys and a lot of people that have, and what they used to talk about in generations past was read a green book every single day. Most powerful thing of getting grounded in our philosophy and principles. Of course, visualization, creating the day, doing all those things, very important as well. But you're a chiropractor, we should be experts knowing chiropractic philosophy and the green books. Okay? So, that's what I have. Thank you for listening to this episode of Innate Express Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share with your